call is
Okay.
first on the agenda. First
Okay.
on the agenda is roll call. So who's present?
So thank you, everyone. Just to confirm, everyone, we are recording this call. I just turned on recording here. We're going to do a quick roll call to track that, to confirm we have a quorum, and if we have anything to vote on. And if we could start with people with an alphabet, your name, more of the last name starting, A through H, if there's anyone, a member on the call. So we don't talk over each one here.
Okay, hat maker.
Maker.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold
With
on
a
one
proxy
second.
for,
We're in the first of the alphabet. There's two of us.
yeah, with a proxy
Okay.
for Dixon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got Hatmaker, Dolan, one, let me see here.
So Mike, you have a proxy for Dixon?
Yeah, so
Yes.
Joyce, we have it all recorded. I sent to you I have 5 proxies. Mike has 1. Bonnie Grant, I see is on, who I will rescind her proxy she had offered here.
It's not working.
Simon, I see you're on. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi.
Tolkien, I'm
What's
just going
Simon's
through.
last name?
I'm doing this right now, Kevin Tolkien, and so we'll revoke your there. Bonnie Grant, I mentioned. Dean Brown.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, give me a second to kind of find.
Well, the point is.
Okay. Jeff Jorgensen. We have some other people in the waiting room, but I can't do that at the same time of doing this, so apologize. Robin, thank you for joining. Robin Root, where are you? The question is under Root, or is it James? There she is. And we have Simon already. Okay, and someone named Linda has just joined. I'm not sure who that is right now. Linda, can you say tell us who you are, who just joined the call?
It's muted.
Hi, this is Linda Moran.
Yeah, so I'm not sure here. Well, we have more than a quorum. I show combined between proxies and attendees, 39% of our members are on the call right now. So thank you very much. We're going to very quickly walk through this, and we just want to thank everyone. The board and many members have been very, very involved over the past few weeks, and lots of things we've accomplished and lots of challenges ahead here. So, so this is the very quick agenda. We've gone through the roll call. I want to provide a quick membership update, organization update, talk about the neighborhood walk, our DADU, our update we've done with regarding detached accessory dwelling units. And then focus most of our time on the rezone application, and then have time to talk about the block party and new business. We are slated to go to 8:30. It's our goal to finish closer to 8, but we want to make sure we accommodate time for members who may have feedback and different issues or questions that come up. So let me go back to our quick status of the association. We've actually accomplished a great deal. When you think about, we technically did not incorporate to October. We have 58 members, 39 households, 66 members on our next door group, which has turned out to be a very effective way to communicate and to reach people, as well as to garner new members. And collectively, we have 128 people that are part of our neighborhood watch list as well. So that includes all of our members and most of the members of the next door group. Very quick financial update. We have about $2,700 in the account. We have no liabilities right now. We've paid up for 2 years on our web hosting. Things that we have slated for that we haven't moved forward was possible signage, and then some neighborhood block party programs. The board status, I just want to, again, Steve McConnell, I'm not sure, I don't think he's joined the call. Let me just double check. I thought I saw him, but I guess not. Steve McConnell, who had agreed to help. He was on the previous West Bellevue Community Council that was defunct about 8 or 9 years or 10 years ago. He agreed to come on board during a transition, was very helpful in the bylaws and such, and we thank him for his support. So thank you, Steve. And I should note that we have board member positions are open. Per our bylaws, the board can appoint anyone that we have by our board vote for the remainder of this year until our annual meeting, which I believe will be end of May, June. And one of the things that we're really focusing on is increasing diversity. And by diversity, it means diversity in multiple ways: cultural background, gender, as well as geographic. So, for example, Mike Hatmaker is on the board. He's my next door neighbor. We probably don't want more people on 99th Street, so we'd rather have, it'd be great to have a different, someone from a different area who may have their thumb on different issues on there. So, any questions at all on the update and where we are? And hopefully you should see that slide, I should say. Okay, let me go to the next slide here real quick. And Mark, do you want to talk about the neighborhood walk?
Sure. So hi, everybody. I'll introduce Craig. Craig Spiesel is our president. He's been chatting so far. My name is Mark Walters. My wife, Lori, and I live on 97th on the street that was the dead end street of Grace Lutheran Church, soon to be the little community called Grace, which is kind of cool. We've raised our now 3 adult children in this community for about 20 years, and so long-term residents. We held a neighborhood walk on the 19th of February. It's kind of an easy, not a huge commitment, fun thing to do to kind of get to know each other and to spend some time together and get to know each other. So we want to keep doing these walks will be rain or shine. So we're going to schedule them. We're going to hold to them, and if anybody wants to come, please come. There's the next one, which is coming up in February at 10 o'clock, and Robin Root James is going to walk us around the neighborhood. She is one of our neighborhood historians, and so she can tell you lots of cool things about the neighborhood. So look forward to meeting you there. And for those of you that bribery helps, coffee and donuts will be provided.
And thank you, Robin, for your generous offer to bake those home-baked donuts. We're really looking forward to those.
Send your latte order to Robin.
By the way, this is a photo from the one that Mark organized right before Christmas, and it was a rainy day, and we got out there, and we had a fun time walking out there. So thank you.
Oh, one thing, we'll meet at the same place. We'll meet at the entryway to the Baden-Bauer Park.
Yeah, that's on the corner of 98th and 98th.
No,
It's 99.
98.
It is where it is.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
It's where the pedestrian walk light is, right? Is that the one we're referring to?
This is at the entrance to the Maidenbauer Bay Road, which is the city listed as 98th Avenue Northeast and 98th Place Northeast. So it's right on the hill there.
It's in the middle of the block between 5th and 4th.
If it changes,
Oh,
if
okay,
it
so-
changes, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm hoping it does, because that's a lot to carry 2 blocks away.
So we can change
Outside
that.
our
Thank you,
house.
Robin. I'll walk down and.
Oh, will you? You're a sweet pea.
We can help you, Robin. We can help you.
Great. Okay.
We can change it. I guess the message here is visit back to the site and we'll in case we change the location. Good point.
98th place.
And I just want to double check, everyone can see the slides, is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Great job.
So the attached accessory dwelling units, I want to thank everyone. We've had a lot of discussion, and there's been a lot of concerns on multiple ends of this. And I should say, this is not a Bellevue issue anymore. This is the state level. The state is pushing forward to this in multiple states. So what we're trying to do as an association is be part of a very productive and constructive process. And maybe, Mark, you can kind of share a little bit of the meeting we had with Councilman Barksdale on the subject.
Yeah, I will. So just as maybe a little bit more complete introduction. So there are, I don't know what the right word is. There's laws being proposed. There's bills under proposal where they're trying to increase affordable housing in communities around the area. And as you might imagine, Bellevue, of course, is selected as one of the communities that needs more affordable housing. I think I completely agree with that. And so one of the things they're looking at is allowing people to do detached auxiliary units in their property. And so you'll see this in Kirkland. My daughter has a dadu in her home that she rents in Seattle. And so, you know, it's the little tiny houses that are going to be built around, that are being built in existing neighborhoods. And the thought being, it will, you know, we already own the lot. So the construction, we're just talking construction costs that would be able to build these without having to have lot acquisition costs. So we had a meeting with Councilman Barksdale, who is a big supporter of this. And what he suggested is, look, when you're communicating with the council on what it is that we're trying to protect or what our goals are, you have to like say the reason why. Like he's like, what's effective is I want dadus in the property that have a certain height because of this. And so you need to add the why. And he wants us to like explain the rationale, because what the council looks at is what is it that we're trying to protect? And they may not take our exact suggestion, but they will take into account hopefully what it is that we're trying to protect as far as maintaining the existing characteristics of the community. So that was good feedback that we got from Barksdale.
Yeah, one of the things he said is that all too often, or this I'm paraphrasing, is groups just say no. And, you know, and that doesn't really work. And we should also know that Barksdale has been the champion of dadus. In fact, no sooner was dadus removed from the comprehensive plan, literally 30 seconds later, he asked for a vote to request the planning department to expedite resources to start evaluating dadus. So we listened to him, and then yesterday we sent a letter to the city, providing some better context. This is posted on our site. There's a link here. And by the way, this deck is now posted on our site under the meetings for today. And I'm not going to go through the detail, but I want to give you some example of what we did. In November, I believe it was in December, we had cited 11 conditions that we had recommended the city consider regarding dadus. And so this is just one page of listing 4 of them. And we listed the narrative that we originally had, and then through the multiple bullet points, or A through D in the first one, why we think it's important. And then we reference where it was already in code. So for example, we have on what you can see there is 3 additional columns. One what is listed for existing city code for accessory dwelling units. And then the second one is what's for detached accessory units like a garage or a shed. And then the third is other, if there's existing other land use codes that's applicable. So this is an example of both providing the fact-based rationale. It's like, look, we're not asking for anything new. We're just saying, as you now introduce this, to apply consistently and why we think some of these things are important. Anyway, any questions or any comments on that? And I should note that we have now 46% of our members joined. Our numbers are going up, and I want to recognize Steve McConnell, who joined. And Steve, again, thank you for your service during the transition and your insights coming from the bridging from West Bellevue Community Club to the formation of the Lochleven Community Association has been very valuable, and we appreciate that. So thank you again, Steve. So, okay, so that's dad dues. So I think what we want to spend some time here is on the chimney rezone, and I'll be asking Mark and Mike to jump in a lot of where we are on this. And so we're going to assuming that not everyone knows all the details. So we're going to go over some of this information, but please stop me or others for more context. And again, these and some additional slides already are posted on our site for more context. So the first thing is a lot of people say, well, where is the chimneys? And what we call there. So what you see here is an aerial shot, and you see on the right, you have 100th, and you have the playground on the right side of it. And then you see in the upper top is the Boys and Girls Club. And the chimneys is the building that's kind of like a hockey stick shape on the bottom. And the red lines, the red arrows indicate the traffic patterns that are one way through a public private easement there. And you can see that traffic pattern goes up into the parking lot of the Boys and Girls Club. And the reason I point that out is one of our concerns is in this application that's submitted, it talks about retail, it talks about hotel, it talks about a bunch of different things. And so we had a concern about the traffic patterns from non-residents and what that would mean. So that gives you the overview. So this property is kind of unique. It borders on 100th and 1st and 99th. So hopefully that provides a better, the only thing that's wrong in this here, for some reason, those apartments in white it says the Well Community Church, and that's Google. I don't know how that happened there. So here is what we know. On December 13th, a new buyer bought the property, paid $15.25 million. That is up from $11.3 million in 2017. That's a material issue because one of the assertions that the applicant has made with the change is that the property has been undevelopable. I guess that's a word. And so it's odd that he would pay $4 million more from what the previous owner is. The legal standing, that's a question we still have. I don't want to dwell on that, but basically the application was dated September 15th, but he didn't buy the property for 90 days later. So that's a concern. Yesterday, if someone could go and hold their phone, that'd be great. Probably me, and I don't realize it. The demolition permit is on hold as of yesterday, since the contractor's license was suspended in June of this past year. At the same time, the safety perimeter fencing was removed, which is a little bit of a concern because in the past there have been homeless people living and camping in the area. And then the picture on the bottom right, also a very unique thing happened. They start to frame out the carport. It was caught by a code compliance officer. They've now submitted a new plan, and supposedly this new plan says that's a storage unit, and the city is questioning the intent of usage right now because it does not. Typically a storage unit, you wouldn't have large windows in it. So that's kind of all we know. It's all public information. Mark or Mike, do you have anything to add on the recap of what?
Well,
No.
I think the point that we want to convey is that a lot of time and phone calls and searching of public records at the state level or local level, we've gotten into every aspect of the developer, what he's trying to do, what he's asked for. Craig's been in constant contact with the city planning department. I guess what I'm trying to convey is that we think I guess you can never be too much on top of a situation like this, but a lot of work has been done to be sure that we we know what has been requested here. We know what the situation is. And we have a plan for following this every step of the way with a rebuttal plan, if you will, challenging the rezone application. And that's where we are.
Yeah, so I guess let me speak to what the application, the comprehensive plan amendment is. So they're asking for a spot zone, which means they want a special exemption for this property. The application says they would like to build a hotel that's 40 feet high, which would be an increase in 10 feet to build a hotel that has retail on the first floor. And by retail, we understand that they're looking at like a small little coffee or bakery or small little, restaurant sort of thing that is facing the park to draw in some park traffic. It's a bit of a moving target, but we were told that they were going to build 2 40-story towers with retail. And I'm not sure if that's still the current plan, but at one point, that's what we were told.
Yeah, and to point of clarification, it's actually the zoning change, if it's a permitted, would go up to 45 feet, from 30 to 45 feet.
Okay.
But no plans have been submitted, and the submission was called a CPA,
Comprehensive plan
amendment. It was written very broad, and it's kind of a moving target because in conversations that we've been they say, well, maybe we're going to do this, maybe we're going to do this, but we have to assume from a planning purpose and impact to the community that they're going to leverage every bit of the rezone capability to their benefit, and that's what they should do if they're the property owner, I guess. And I also want to, by the way, recognize Scott's on the call, and Scott Lampy, who lives across the street, and he's president of the Bayshore Condos. He's been kind of the eyes and ears. And he's, representing a lot of people on First that are very concerned about the impact of this property. And it's not just this property, it's what part of this process the city is, and we'll go through this, is how it will be applied or may be applied to other similar properties that are in the area. And they say adjacent, but adjacent's not necessarily next door. It could be across the street or the other streets. So, Mark, do you want to touch on this one?
I'll try. I'll do my best. So the timeline is we're at the front end of this. This process is going to take a while. The Planning Commission goes first, and they get to the way the process works. If you submit a proper application for a zoning change to the Planning Commission, you will be heard. You can't, like, if it's a proper application, you will be heard. So the first step is they consider the geographic scope. And so what that means is they take a look around and they say just what it says. What do we have that's like what's being proposed in the area? So for example, the geographic scope analysis is going to point out that there are commercial buildings along 100th to the south of the property. And they're going to point out that there's already an existing hotel on 100th and Northeast 5th. And so they're going to find similar properties, at least a similar hotel in the area. And there'll be a public hearing where those things are discussed. And really no decision is made, as I understand it at that point. That's just let's just make a inventory of what's around. And then eventually the Planning Commission is going to make a recommendation to the City Council, a go, no-go decision. And what we understand is that we understand this to be true. We believe it to be true. We don't know that it's true. So some of this we're kind of reading the tea leaves, and what we're learning is that if the Planning Commission says it's a go, that there's a better than likely chance that the City Council will say, okay, let's adopt it in the work plan. And then there's going to be more public hearings. And then it goes back to the Planning Commission where they really dive into the detail. And what I also understand is that developers don't really spend a lot of time and money developing the specific plans for what they're going to build until they know that it actually has a chance of happening. Because why spend that money if it doesn't get out of the Planning Commission? So that kind of makes sense. And so, as I understand it, and Craig, help me if you think I'm not totally in this, but this might be a year-long process.
Actually, let me clarify. The first step is the planning department reviews this. And they go through there and then they make a recommendation to the planning commission. But what's really happening is it's being introduced to city council on the February 14th. The timeline, this is being fast tracked, and the vote that could approve this is as early as April. And we have the dates in here. Let me kind of just fast forward to those. Mark talked about this geographic scope. So it's also going to look at the geographic scope is also going to look at other buildings that could be rezoned. So the properties across the street on First that are currently R30. So again, nearby, similarly situated, have characteristics. They don't have to already have, that's not the justification that they have retail in there. And so that's one of the concerns. There's several properties. We've identified 8 properties that could be rezoned, which would allow the increased height as well as mixed use. And that's, at the end of the day, I think one of the biggest concerns we all have. But this is, again, these slides were what were provided. We had a briefing that we requested from the planning department, and they walked through this. So the planning department provides the planning commission the outline of these properties. And then the final review addresses, and the questions comes down that the big Uber level is, does this change meet the needs of the city? Is it suitable for general conditions? And is it really, they use this word, demonstrate a public benefit, enhance the public health, safety, and welfare of the city. So these are some of the things that we took this feedback into our response. And then there is actually a formal process in between there that's already in land use code, that once the planning commission says yes, then there actually has to be a legal review. Is it consistent with the plan? Does it have this public safety, health or benefit? Is it warranted? Will it not material detrimental use? And does it have merit for the value of the community of the whole? And that is a step in between. And that's what then, if the land use attorney for the city, I'm not exactly the title, then the city council actually votes on that. So there are some steps. And as I understand, this is the dates they gave us. It's being introduced to city council in roughly 2.5 weeks. And that's then the planning commission will review the geographic scope on the 23rd. And so that work is already in progress from the planning department. Then the planning commission, there'll be a public hearing regarding what properties would be included. And then the council could vote on this as early as April 4th. So this is what we're working on. Again, this is slides that I think were given to us last week. Does anyone have any questions? We're learning very quickly here. So, Mark and Scott and Mike and I, none of us are city planners or land use. We're learning very quickly here. So it's been a steep learning curve for us all.
Let me just add one thing. Maybe it's obvious to everyone, but the whole issue here is that our neighborhood, our side of 100th, is zoned residential. What the developer is asking to do is to do a rezone on this particular property and convert that zoning from residential to mixed use commercial, which means they could put more residential, but they could put a hotel, they could put condos, and they could put a retail. So what we're saying is we would like our neighborhood, which is residential, to stay residential. That's our starting position.
Any questions? I mean, we can dig down, and I don't want to go through where it went out on this. I would say we have unanimous consent with the board in support of this. We've circulated versions of a letter that we plan to send out as early as tomorrow to the city. We think there's an urgency to get this letter out, because what we have learned is the applicant is now saying, geez, they heard that we had these concerns, and they said, well, they they made a mistake in their application and they're kind of waving on this and that. And so we think it's really important that we be on record of some of these concerns.
This is Simon Boothroyd. I don't really have a question so much as a comment on some limited experience that we've had with a couple of other developments. One was what was the pizza place near the gas station that is now going to be this big glass monster on the corner. And then there was the Grace development. Well, and I wasn't there, but Linda, who's on the call, and Louise, who's with me here, both went to, I think, both planning meetings, did you? But they were meetings that were after the equivalent of this CPA work plan, I think. So they were the follow-on, and just the impression that I got, and I guess Linda and Louise would really speak to this, was that they'd already decided. Everything was decided. That the design of the replacement, the building on the corner near the gas station was completely decided. It was, the landscapers were even there. And so that was my sort of sense from hearing about this. And that's what my note to you, Craig, was, I'm kind of cynical, frankly, about at what point the decision's really made here. And so I think time does seem to be of the essence, but anybody, Louise or Linda, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, it was like, we went to the public hearing and the room was full. We were allowed to make our points, but basically they had already decided. And needless to say, because I was the president of the board of the condo building of Astoria, and we had to make sure everything followed the city of Bellevue's codes, even to having the red brick pavement. But yet, lo and behold, this building was allowed to have a glass front, and they got away with it, even though it was not in keeping with the rest of Main Street. So I honestly do feel like, yeah, you're doing what you're doing now, getting in right now. Hopefully they haven't made a decision yet, but by the time it gets to that third or the second round of public hearings, they've already decided. And it was clearly evident at that second hearing that, well, given that the landscaper was already there and they were talking about the plants. So good on you for all the work that you've put in now, is what I can say.
Well, I personally, I fear that in a lot of these cases, you're right. And that's kind of why, most of us have felt this urgency. And it's been a moving target because we as we kind of go into this and kind of peel back the onion, we find a lot of irregularities in what's been proposed that honestly, I'm surprised the city hasn't caught. And we flag them, and then, they say, oh, geez, the guy doesn't have a license with the state. He listed one. We better put that permit on hold. So we're trying to get ahead of this, but we're really trying to be really rational. One of the concerns is, leading up to this, many of us worked for months on the comprehensive plan for Northwest Bellevue. And nowhere in that process did any of this stuff come up, or the need for this. And it talked about all these policies. There's 52 policies that talk about preserving the great neighborhoods of Bellevue. And that was finalized on, just give you a perspective, that was approved by City Council on December 13th. And meanwhile, this is coming along to try to rewrite what they just did. And there's not that many privately initiated CPAs. I believe the city told us in the past 4 years, there's only been 7 of them. They're very rare, where a private citizen, and be a developer, initiates it. So we are trying to be ahead of this for sure. Yeah, there was averages 4 per year. In the last 4 years, 12 were submitted. 7 were adopted. So basically what happened is, of those 12, 5 either withdrawn or were terminated. Quickly, what happens is that a developer, if they withdraw it, they can resubmit, I believe. But if it gets shot down, they have to wait 3 years to resubmit another change.
Right.
So we're putting a lot of pressure on them as right now. Any other
Right.
comments?
Craig, before you go, Jean has her hand up.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Hey, Craig, that's okay. So I heard Mark say your main concern is the rezoning from residential to commercial. I guess as being an owner at Bayside Place, which is right across the street, I have a very, a secondary concern is about the height restriction.
Absolutely.
Because I see that if they build up to, 40 feet, well, and then next to us are older buildings that are going to be built up to 45 feet, and below us are other older buildings, and, I see that as a big concern for our building.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay.
Multiple screens here, and it's a change in multiple aspects. It's a change to allow commercial retail. It's potentially displacing residential units to hotel, and it's increasing the height that effectively could add another story. And it's not only that, but the property's right next, directly east of you and across the street. As if I owned the property next to you and I saw the property across the street get rezoned and approved to 45 feet, why wouldn't I get it?
Yeah.
And so it's a slippery slope that we're very concerned. And then,
But I guess my question is, other than we don't want that to happen because it'll affect our enjoyment of our properties and the value of our properties, do you have other arguments against that height rezoning?
I'm glad you asked. Did someone pay her to ask that question? So we do. So we have a letter that we're prepared to send tomorrow out that outlines very specific things here. I can do a share screen.
Hold on a second.
I can read the letter, but I just wanted to make sure that was being addressed. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just kind of walk through. We're not going to go through a letter here, but we outlined, as I mentioned, there was a comprehensive plan that was done for Bellevue here. And I'll kind of hold this up here, this document, if you can read it or not. And it outlined, it has 52 policies regarding planning for Bellevue or Northwest Bellevue, and of which over 30%, we believe, it's our assessment that this private amendment, comprehensive plan amendment, would conflict with over 30% of those. And so we've outlined exact fact-based why we think that is in our letter. And then we actually asked the city some very fundamental questions, and basically, I'm going to paraphrase it, do the benefits of a private investor override the vision and plans of the plan of the neighborhood and the impact of a sense of place and sense of community? And the reason that's important is it talks about neighborhood community. And so now we're introducing retail and a hotel. Those people aren't going to be invested in the community. The other part talks about the plan very specifically about 100 is the boundary between downtown and Northwest Bellevue and the Northwest Bellevue neighborhoods. And that I should say is the east side of 100th.
I guess as a developer, I say, okay, if I don't do the hotel, but I make it condos, then will you give me the height, of the 45 feet?
So as I understand, I asked that specific question today to the planning commission. I have a response. But from what I researched is once you go from R30, the only other zoning is mixed multi-use. That mixed multi-use includes the ability to go to 45 feet.
Thank you.
So we asking these key questions. For example, one of the things the city is very focused on is available housing. So we're trying to hit very hard. There's adding hotel rooms. How does that balance and equate to eliminating up to 21 residential units when the goal of the plan is to maintain and increase housing stock? So we're trying to hit on these types of things here. Do we really need more retail when there's existing vacancies of retail in the area? And again, what about the traffic issues of now of increased people who don't know there's a Boys and Girls Club that are going through that driveway? So we're trying to raise these issues and really make sure the city answers these questions. It's kind of as Mike said, that, you know, be a good lawyer, and a lawyer stands before a jury and says, you know, you have to vote on these types of things and ask yourself these key questions. And if you could say no to any one of these, then you have to quit or vote it down. Is that what you said, Mike? So,
That was it. Yeah.
so basically, that's what we're trying to do in this letter. And the reason of this letter is formally the CPA is being introduced, the first step to City Council on February 14th. And we feel we need to reiterate what we've already raised in some other areas, the foundation, and be very specific in this. So the plan is, notwithstanding a minor editor that's caught tonight or tomorrow, send this out as early as tomorrow to the city. But that's just the start. The next part is how you guys can help. And Mark, I'm gonna kind of pass this back to you right now.
Yeah, so let's go to, Robin's had her hand up, so let's go to Robin and then I'll go.
Okay. Go ahead, Robin.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Craig. I think you're about to hit it here. The engagement, so much of it, when I went through and read this was beautifully written, by the way. I love how if you follow, you know, yes, 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 the obvious answer when you walk through what you've written. The challenge, I think, is this part, and really matters that we conquer individually, because when we have made gotten our way with the council, we have already known what our votes will be before they're formally in the room. So the idea that we just make our points in front of the council isn't how the council really works. So being on the board for the Bellevue Botanical Garden, when we've needed what we have needed, we had already had individual meetings with each council member. We kept giving them little just notices of joy. I mean, we're constantly interacting with them. Look what we've done with your funds. Look how the community loves it. We were constantly creating that emotional bank so that we were able to go back and get from them what we wanted. And that's why I think this engagement strategy part is so necessary.
Right. I should point out we have to influence 3 audiences, and it's my assessment, the planning department, what they say, most often the planning commission accepts. The planning department's the experts. They're doing the research. The planning commission is reading the summary documents. But it kind of in this order, and that's what we've been spending a lot of time with Kate, or Kat, I should say, the planning commission, and then each council member. And the way we've kind of looked at this is we have to kind of look at kind of keeping a drumbeat going and getting crescendo. So we already are planning our next letter to drop before the February 23rd meeting, which is with the planning commission, and have some additional information, objecting based on the geographic and the threshold review. And what we're asking is everyone on the call here is to reach out and send emails, and but yet, rather than just say I oppose it, but glean something from what we have. And we have a few ideas in this area here. And so let me just kind of, for example, here's one example. And again, you need to, give you a little bit of format here. We are asking to copy us, the association, so we can kind of just track here. And it could be something as simple as this. And it doesn't have to be your words, but it's my experience. I've worked on these on the state level and the federal level. And, to Robin's point, we need to continue to feed and nurture the audiences we want to help support our needs. Any comments of people, do we have support of this strategy?
Lots of support here.
Craig, can you give me control, please?
Pardon me?
Can you give me, can I drive the SharePoint or the Zoom call for a minute?
Hold on 1 second here. Let me. So you should be able to, technically I've given share to everyone right now.
Okay.
So Mark, as he's trying to do share, he's actually drafted up a Word document that we're going to post or make available. Is it working now for you, Mark?
It is, I'm just slow.
Okay. Again, you know, trying to help you on there. And again, I think sending something out to each council member, I plan on sending a personal email to each one and trying to have a conversation with them and just, you know, reviewing why we think this is really important.
Can people see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so for some reason, I can't get this up into the chat. I was going to post it into the chat, but it's not letting me get to my desktop. So I took a crack at drafting something that if you email me and my email address, I'll put it in the chat. That I can do. If you email me, I'll email this to you. And this is just, it's my words. It's been revised and tweaked by people on the board, but you're welcome to change any part of it that you want. But you know, we're trying to hit the main issues. You know, if there is a, you know, keeping with Barksdale, if there's, you know, to explain why we want it to stay the same and why we're opposed to this and why, you know, what it is about the neighborhood that we're trying to protect. If you want to put that in your own words, please do so. It's not, I frankly think it would be received better if people kind of message this a little bit differently than just copy and pasting, but I'll take a copy and paste if I can get it. Be sure to kind of go through and edit the we, you know, so that it actually reads like something that you wrote. But I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So email me and I'll give you this. It's kind of a template that I think you can use. We do ask that you CC the Lochleven.wa Gmail address. And if anybody wants to communicate with the association or the board, or I suppose the board, you can email us there and we'll make sure that we get it. But so here's a template for people to use, and Craig has another one that's in the PowerPoint deck.
Yeah, and we'll send out a summary mail to all members. And maybe Mark, we'll figure, we can talk about this afterwards. Do we link that to make it easy too? It's something really, I want to underscore the importance of this, because when the planning department mentioned in December to council that they had a CPA and they were walking through this process, they made the comment that they have had about the equal number of people supporting this versus opposing it. And I took great exception to that. I did a public records request and found out that there was no written comments in support of it. They claimed that they had some phone calls, but they didn't have any logs of who cited that. That was a little concerning because I felt it was not accurate to make that statement. We then asked very specifically is when we read other CPAs, they just give a count, 5 for, and 5 in favor, 2 opposed, whatever. And I asked, I said, so an organization, how do you count that? And they said, well, it's basically up for the council members to look at that to see there's an association. So that kind of bothered me. That was my interpretation, at least. So it really underscores that it is about volume as well as substance in there. And so we shouldn't just, we can't assume that they're going to say, hey, Lochleven represents so many hundreds of households, they're going to take it that weight. I think we really need to have dozens of communications between now and April.
Craig, did you say that was the planning department, somebody there that told you that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really not a conspiracist, but it seems like the planning department, you know, they're very powerful, because it sounds like you mentioned, or somebody mentioned, the planning commission. They sort of take a lot of their input, and I don't know that they necessarily rubber stamp it, but it almost sounds like it. So if they're telling you things that are patently untrue, That is quite concerning, and I suppose it's incumbent upon us to give them the volume they need, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see someone shout at me, what happened to my eye? I got into an argument with the planning commission. No, I think they're trying, I mean, honestly, we're dealing with also one of the woman named Kate Nessie. She's only been in this job for 6 months. She's trying her best, but I think at the end of the day, she is being influenced by the process in there. And the process, I think, appears to be weighted, the fingers on the scale towards the developer.
Yeah.
Reality is, are people going to spend amount this time and energy to, like I said, to read the documents to go through? For example, one of the things that was in the document that tried justifying the application was how it was going to enhance the Grand Connection. And we did a fair amount of research, and we confirmed with the city that it was not adjacent to the Grand Connection. And we further found out that the attorney representing the property owner admitted that that was a mistake, that they had thought that they kind of tried to backpedal. They said, well, originally 10 years ago, the Grand Connection was going to go down first. And so that was our mistake. But the point is, we have to be strong in this stuff and be really willing to push back. And there was, that is just an example, there's misrepresentations in that plan that I think if we didn't point that out, I don't think that the planning commission or the city council would have actually spent the time and actually looking at the map and saying, geez, well, where's the Grand Connection versus this property? And so, and we had some healthy debate among the board even on that issue. But the point is, I think our position was verified based on the attorney representing the property in a conversation he had with a member in December, recanting and saying that was a mistake. But, he's not going to tell the city it was a mistake. So nevertheless, I don't mean to ramble.
Yeah, so I'll just, Simon, I don't want to enhance your doubting your conspiracy belief, but I think, one thing that people should at least know, or I think it's okay. It is what it is, but the attorney that's representing the developer used to be chair of the planning commission. So.
Yeah, and I should say, he also wrote, he ran against John Stokes. He was endorsed by Kemper Freeman and Bob Wallace, the two biggest developers in the city of Bellevue. So, he's a really nice guy, but let's be clear, he is a fox in a sheep's clothing or something like that analogy there. And he does it, he's doing his job for his client. But unfortunately, like I said, we have found several issues that are significant concern in this area here. So that's kind of where we're at. Simon, I appreciate your candor and your assessment, and I want to prove you wrong.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. And I just want to thank everybody for all their work. Louise and I have talked. I think it's impressive what you've done so far.
Any other comments on this before we move to the next topic, which I think is the last topic.
Move on.
So want to kind of open it up. It's just 5 of 8. We have some time here. One on new business. One thing I would like to kind of throw out there is ideas for a block party. So Lochleven isn't just about opposing what the city wants to do. It is hopefully to kind of build community, get us to know each other, have some fun, not be revising documents the rest of our life. And one part of this, this activity and engagement is the neighborhood walks that we want to do. But we've also had a lot of discussions about what should a block party be, and love to hear people's feedback or thoughts,
Wait till it gets warmer and not so foggy.
That'd be good. Good idea.
Well, yeah, weather-wise, yes, but I mean, if we think about in the May or June timeframe is what we're thinking about, but
Right.
What has worked before, I have reached out to the city and there is a vacant lot on 99th that we could get approval to use that if we wanted to, rather than closing a street. There is a neighbor that's adjacent and we could run a power cord, but should we find a place even more centrally located? But that's really the tactical side of it. I think more important than the time and the location is, what do we want to do at it? What do we, I mean, cookout, do we want to have some music, street dancing?
No.
All of the above. I'm Jeff Jorgensen, as you can see by my picture there. I'm right down the street on 99th as well, just south of 5th, and Mark knows exactly where I live. At any rate, I was in Bellevue Essentials a few years ago, which I don't know if you guys are familiar. It's a leadership program for the city of Bellevue, and I recommend everyone apply for it. It's an amazing program. Put you in touch with a whole bunch of different ways to be involved. I'm actually on a commission right now. This isn't about me. I was going to say one of the things we learned in Bellevue Essentials was that there are neighborhood programs where, like, the fire department will show up for your block party and bring the fire engine. All the kids can come out and see the fire engine. They'll provide materials for you. They'll help with the promotion of it. Like the city neighborhoods department has a ton of resources, and in all of my copious free time, I'll do a little looking into that, because that's something that's always sort of excited me, is the fact that I used to live in West Seattle, and like there was such a huge sense of community in that whole area, and even in the little sub neighborhoods, and I've always sort of missed that about this. I was over there for a couple of years. We've owned this house for over 30 years. Yeah, so that's something I've always wanted. When you left the flyer on our doorstep, I'm like, there you go. That's a way into community. So I am up for any kind of block party, music, food, dancing, fire trucks, whatever. But looking forward to it.
Wait, I want to echo also, by the way, I'm not sure we're in the same class of Bellevue Essentials, but I think it's roughly a 12-week or 15-week program.
Yeah.
And it's really, honestly, it's helped me doing a lot of what I'm doing, because I kind of have introductions to the process and the people in the different departments. But it's a great program getting involved. And the city looks to people who have gone through that to actually participate in some of the commissions going forward, because it's kind of that foundation. You understand what the city's trying to do. I mean, we actually put out fires. I mean, they have at the fire training facility with a fire hose and some stuff like that. But it's just appreciation of what the city goes through. So but Jeff, those are great ideas, and I think to get the kids involved, so maybe we can anoint you to kind of help coalesce.
I will start my work.
I want to speak to what Jeff was saying too, because one of my goals for the community, I hope people will chime in on this, is the city of Bellevue. They did a comprehensive plan, Northwest Bellevue, that just got approved. They did a survey in 2000, annual performance survey, rated the neighborhood, and 50% of those Northwest Bellevue residents, which is our community, includes our community, took the survey, rated the neighborhood as having neutral, little sense or no sense of community. And I call lame on that. So,
it's interesting though, because I don't know that I disagree with that evaluation. And one thing that we were actually in a house in Viewcrest, and one thing that Viewcrest does is they do have a yearly party, and they during the riots of April 20, that whole community came together and they blocked their neighborhood off.
They were armed and loaded.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's neighbors coming together, right?
Yeah.
So not the best circumstances. I'll take the fire truck and the party, but
I mean, I did have a conversation with you'll appreciate this, of activities. I can't remember if it's a current head of the police that's for us, the previous one who used to be head of the bicycle police team or whatever you call it. And so I thought to myself, well, why don't we have a bike race around the neighborhood with some of the police officers? And of course,
That'd be
my wife
fun.
said, no.
I'm actually on the police and fire commission, so you know what? I'll put it to them.
But I'm just trying to. There could be some creative ways. I mean, you could have a dunk tank, but the bicycle parades that the kids love, the younger kids. I'm just throwing out there other ideas, and I think that
it's good.
to your point, I mean, most of the people didn't even, when I went door to door, didn't even know what Lochleven was.
Right.
And so we're branding an identity, and I actually got an email back from the city today thanking us for the letter we submitted yesterday as providing really thoughtful input and being part of the process. And I think what you're hearing now is city council is recognizing us more, so we're getting that out there. But now how do we build community? And Andrea, who's on the call there, we keep on talking about emergency readiness, what type of, and that could be part of it too, about getting to know your neighbors. If there is a catastrophe, how do we help? And Andrea is on the board of the Bellevue CERT, which is a community emergency response team. So that's another area to get involved in as well. Any comments, Andrea, on that one?
If you are a member of Bellevue CERT, you would have gotten an email this week with a special local mission opportunity.
I did get that.
Okay.
One thing we could do is have a block party where we ask the council to come and we introduce ourselves and give them some people to choose with for future support and votes for the council. That's nothing will get you more clout than gathering people on their behalf.
Yeah.
Good, that's a great idea.
Good idea. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think they're all creative things to kind of get people together, and I really like that idea here. Any other, I mean, that's the thing that I wanted to throw out there. We do have right now, just have a cadence of meetings the second Tuesday of every month. I don't know if that's going to be totally necessary, but I also think that we need to be more proactive and not just responding to problems. We should be kind of looking at opportunities. And so, this has been an exhausting 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get to on some of the stuff that Mike and I and everyone else have been working long hours on. But, as we look at other things, I think they can be more fun and engaging. And so, and just trying so people can block out that time. So right now, the next meeting technically is slated for February 8th. The timing of that actually will be right before the next council meeting on the 14th. And we could also recap on the outreach campaign. And also, by the way, not just, let me kind of get back to ramble here for a second, but it's not just some letters. You can register up to 5 or 5:30 the day of any of those meetings to speak. And we should really think about that. And the reason why that's important is because a lot of people dial into those meetings, they don't read the submissions. And so we're also trying to influence the greater public as well, beyond just Lochleven, I think. So I encourage people, and it shouldn't just be board members, other people to kind of sign up to speak and provide some constructive dialogue on why we have a concern about what's going on, specifically on the CPA.
If you look too at the crime mapping and look where crime is closest to us, it's where the money is, which is at Bellevue Collection. And so if all the set and on Main Street, if you look there, they're hit too with crime. And crime is the element we don't want to be bringing into our neighborhood. So when you bring mixed use and a blingy shop and retail, that retail brings with it more crime. So we don't want to be smash and grab candidates with people that close to our homes. And I think it's important that the council hears that as a real reckoning, right? They watched the same footage we did, except we were that close and we don't want it any closer.
Yeah, Robin, thanks for bringing that up. And I think in a previous meeting that we talked about the crime map. If those of you who aren't familiar with it, is a database that the city of Bellevue, I'm not gonna say subscribes to, but feeds data into. And I'm gonna share that real quick if anyone's interested in it. The problem is, when we caught them on a few things on there, for some reason, it's not showing, what do you call it? It's not showing postal break-ins, and it wasn't showing, any crimes at Bellevue Village. And what we found out is if the store has a robbery or something, and if they don't report it or don't want to press charges, it doesn't show up. So I'm going to share very quickly what this is that we're talking about. Can you see this slide now? Does everyone see this map? So each one of these symbols stands for something, and this goes back from November 1st till what was reported as of yesterday. And to Robin's point is that you see a concentration of these, kind of zoom in a little bit around, obviously Bellevue Square, but on 99th, I'm gonna just click on this here and pulling data. There was larceny reported. It doesn't give, it's 500 block of 99th. Closer to the Boys and Girls Club, there was a break-in, car break-in. On First, down the rape towards, there was multiple records of vandalism reported. So we have a fair amount. If you look at Lochleven, we don't have that concentration, but this is what's happening right now. And this again is just going back to November. If I were to go, it only gives you a 6-month period. Let's see what happens.
You're also seeing too, Craig, it shows one dot, but if you look really carefully on some of these, it'll say 20 plus in one location. So, don't just look at the dots, look at the number on the dot.
So yeah, so here I've expanded it to August, and I think the number 2 shows there's 2 of them.
Oh yeah, there's the 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see the 20 in Bellevue Square there. Yeah, but I was just saying within our community. And I think the biggest thing is you see car break-ins on or around our streets. And I don't know if I'm going down towards, I'm just scrolling right now to the rest of Lochleven.
So much.
Looks like First is kind of been quite a bit, a few of them on Northeast First there, both on the east and west side of the park, Maidenbower Park. So I can send that link out to you if anyone wants to play with that in the future on there, but it is something. And again, this is not reporting postal theft, which is a whole separate area that it's affecting a lot of people. Okay. Well, go ahead. Would anyone like to mention any other topic before we call it a wrap?
I put in the chat just for people to let me know if they are interested in emergency preparedness and if they have an area they want to learn about. So we can decide if we have enough meat for a meeting, or if there's a particular area of interest, we could do a real focused topic. So if that's an interest, so if you're a CERT member that I'm not aware of, let me know, or if you're brand new and want to learn more, let me know that too.
That's a great thing. And one thing that I kind of thought I should have done, but I didn't, is, we had the snowstorm and, for a lot of people that create problems. And in hindsight, perhaps we could have reached out. I mean, I did shovel for some neighbors, but, that's a different scope of emergency, but it does affect people. So it's not just a catastrophe like an earthquake. It could be other things as well, I think. Well, great. Well, again, I want to thank everyone. We had a great turnout tonight. We had, I'm showing 49% of members joined tonight. So thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for the work. If you go to the member site, you'll see these documents, the letter that will be posted tomorrow. And I'll send a summary mail out, and then with a link to the document that Mark suggested on how you can get engaged. So with that, notwithstanding any other comments, if we have a motion to conclude the meeting, that sounds good to me.
Move we adjourn.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Great to see everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, men.
Hey, Robin.
Yeah,
Thanks, Robin. Yeah.
that was really good. It's,
was a good
I
meeting.
think Andrea and I were bantering on the side, Conrad and Jared and Jennifer on the council. I mean, I know them, and I'm thinking it's time we see if we can get some coffee and meet and see if one of you are available who's much more attuned to exactly the points to make. We need those votes before we walk in that door, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And I
No
think
doubt.
if perhaps we find who else, there's only 7 of them. I know 3, certainly people know others, to see if we can get an audience, meet for coffee. Conrad seems always into it. He's a sweet pea, and let him know we would love to, if this goes our way, we'd love to, as a neighborhood, if this goes our way, I really think we need to have a council. Thank you, and thank the council for protecting make it all about them. We need the council so happy and accommodative in the future to listen to us. And that's by petting them well when they do what we want.
I think that's key. I mean, the reality is my experience working with the different planning commissions, and I used to be in the utility commission with Clyde Hill. I mean, 99% of the people that are sitting on there are just going yes to what is being proposed by city staff.
Yep.
And
To
so,
expect them to read, what you guys have put together is really good stuff. But to have read it, it took me over 45 minutes to go through it and comprehend it. Are they gonna take the time that we could otherwise, same points, but put it more as a quick and dirty PowerPoint that we can meet with them or
Yeah.
walk them through or record it and send, they'll watch a video more than, if that's known by marketing, people will watch a video more than they will read a letter. So I think we
Good
may
idea.
want to try it in a different medium too.
yeah, and,
Good thought.
and that was one of the reasons we made the letter, those questions, very short and succinct.
Yeah.
And then more the attachment or the exhibit. If you want to read more, here's the specifics, because we know most people aren't going to spend that time. And
Yeah, it was excellent. It was really good data. It's now just got to be, how can it all be said in a quick video? And I own the software for BombBomb where they receive it like an email and they see faces. That's faster and easier than reading a letter and much more entertaining. So people will do that more if we're trying to really connect with these guys.
Good thoughts.
yeah, I think also your idea of reaching out and maybe after we get this first letter out next day or two, then follow up with each council member offering that, we would love to get together, to talk about this over coffee, and ideally have that conversation before February. The February 14th meeting is really, they are just being told about this. They're not voting everything. But my view is we need to be in the ground floor shaping their perspective before someone else is doing it.
And I think we're already behind the gun. So that's, to divide and conquer. There's 7 of them. Who's gonna call which person? Who's got the deepest, do they recognize anyone else? Would they know who you are? Can you get the time with them? Will they take the time? I think that's key to get on right now.
I've had a dialogue with everyone. I'm not saying I want to do this. I mean, and they've all responded to me, except Stokes.
Fantastic.
Conrad has called me several times.
He's so awesome.
I'm not sure what conversations were about when I'm done sometimes.
Yeah, you've got to really grab him by the side of his face and be like, here's my 3 points. I'm going to make these, and then let's banter about what you've been up to.
Jared's been very receptive. Jeremy as well.
Fantastic. Great
and-
job. That's what it's about, is that they know us as a community and that it's more than just the first time in. So, I mean, I'm more than happy to see if I can get face-to-face and coffee appointments. If there's, dates available.
Being that I've worked with Jared, Jeremy, and Conrad, I can engage those 3. And, my schedule, I mean, I do work for myself, so I kind of, my work schedule is like a roller coaster sometimes. Because of the security world, things aren't always by my schedule.
Right.
But if someone has a personal relationship with Robertson, or Robertson, or Janice, is it Janice on?
I was against hers, but and I think she knows it on a couple points, but I'll reach out and see if I can get coffee dates tentatively, and then see who of you can be there to make sure that all good points are made. How's that?
That works for me. I mean,
okay.
Mike, when do you get back from Arizona?
Well, not till spring, but I'll be back in between times. Yeah.
Lot of compassion for you in that nice spring weather there.
Right?
Yeah.
You're missing some great rain. Okay,
That's what I
gotta
understand.
go. I got a husband who keeps on waving at me here. So
Okay.
thank you again. Great
Thanks a lot.
job.
Thanks a
So
lot.
proud to know you guys and have
Thanks
you
a lot.
representing.
Great to meet you.
Say hi to Larry.
Thanks,
I
Robin.
will. Bye.
Bye-bye.